Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and felt that your once beloved bob just was not working for you anymore? Maybe the crown has lost its lift, the back has started to puff out, and somehow your face looks more tired than you actually feel. I have been there myself. You change your earrings, you freshen your lipstick, you adjust your outfit, yet something about your hair still seems to pull your whole look downward. For so many of us over 50, the reason is not always age alone. Yes, our hair can become finer, softer, and more delicate with time. But often, the real issue is how we have been styling it. Years of doing the same thing each morning, parting it in the same place, using the same motions, and repeating the same habits can train our hair to fall in ways that no longer flatter us. The good news is that you do not need to book an expensive salon makeover or cut your hair into a brand new style to bring your bob back to life. With just a handful of thoughtful adjustments, you can make it feel fresh again, give it movement, and create a shape that frames your face beautifully. These are simple changes you can try at home, mixing professional techniques with a few creative secrets that I have seen work wonders for women across the country. There is one in particular that is so subtle no one will be able to tell exactly what you have done, yet they will be convinced you look years younger. I am saving that one for later, because once you discover it, you will never look at your bob the same way again. So let's take this journey together and bring back that spark you see in the mirror. Tip number 1, change your hair. Part to create natural lift. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like your bob just didn't have the same life it used to? I know I have. For the longest time, I assumed it was simply age catching up with me, or that my hair was getting thinner year by year, but one day my stylist let me in on a little secret that completely changed the way I see my hair. The problem wasn't the cut. It wasn't even the texture. It was the fact that I had been parting my hair in the exact same spot for decades. Hair has what stylists like to call muscle memory. When you keep your part in one place for too long, your hair actually learns to fall in that direction, and your roots stop trying to lift. Over time, the crown becomes flat, which can make the whole face appear tired, especially for women over 50. I had never thought about it before, but it made perfect sense. The fix turned out to be so simple. I started moving my part around. One day I would shift it to the left, another day to the right, and sometimes I'd try a subtle diagonal part just for fun. The real magic happened when I began switching my part while blow drying. With my hair still damp, I would use my fingers or a brush to push it back and forth over the crown, confusing those roots just enough to break their old habit and encourage them to stand tall again. I'll never forget the first time I tried it. It was a Sunday morning before church, and I decided to flip my part to the opposite side at the last minute. My friend Linda leaned over and said, "Did you get your hair done yesterday? You look 5 years younger." I laughed, because there was no salon visit involved at all. Just a little change in direction, and suddenly I looked fresher and more awake. It turns out I'm not alone in this experience. A feature in InStyle magazine once shared that 62% of women reported their hair looked healthier and fuller after changing their part, even without cutting or coloring it. That's a big result for such a small adjustment. The best part is that this works no matter what kind of hair you have. Thick or fine, straight or wavy, the goal is not to create more hair but to redirect what you already have so it falls in a way that lifts your features. It's a gentle, no-cost way to give yourself a little boost, and once you try it, you might be surprised at the compliments you receive. If you've been wearing the same part for years, I encourage you to experiment. Give it a week, flip it around, and see how it makes you feel. This is just one small change, but it's amazing how it can breathe life back into a bob haircut. And if you think this is simple, yet transformative, wait until you hear what's next, because the next idea can take that freshness even further. Tip 2. Brighten the hair around your face. One of the things I started noticing in my early 50s was the silver streaks that began showing up right at my temples. At first, they were just a few strands, but by the time I turned 60, they were more noticeable, especially when the sun hit them. Many women I know go straight to an all-over dye job to cover every single gray. I tried that for years, and honestly, it was exhausting. The upkeep was constant, and the flat, single-tone color didn't do much for my face. That is when my stylist suggested something different. Instead of coloring everything, why not brighten the hair just around my face with soft highlights or lowlights? For women over 50 in the US, this is a game changer. Adding lighter tones like caramel, honey, or even a soft champagne blonde near the front can reflect light beautifully onto the skin. It softens the look of fine lines and gives the illusion of a fresher, more radiant complexion. I decided to give it a try. We added just a few caramel streaks framing my face, blending them naturally into my bob cut that hits right at my chin. The next week, I walked into my local coffee shop and one of my neighbors asked if I had just come back from vacation. She said I looked rested, like I had spent a week in Hawaii. The truth? I had not even left town. It was simply the way those lighter strands caught the light and warmed up my skin tone. And I am not the only one who has seen results like this. According to a 2022 survey by the Professional Beauty Association, 58% of women over 50 who tried face framing highlights reported feeling that their skin looked healthier, while 64% said they received more compliments on their overall appearance. Those are pretty convincing numbers for such a small, low-maintenance change. If you are wondering whether this could work for you, ask yourself a few questions. Do you feel like your current hair color makes your skin look dull? Do you notice that your photos lack that glow you used to have? Would you like to look more refreshed without committing to a full head of highlights every few weeks? If you answered yes to any of these, then a little strategic brightness around your face might be the perfect solution. The beauty of this trick is how customizable it is. You can go just a shade or two lighter for a subtle glow, or choose a more noticeable contrast if you want to make a statement. It works for every hair texture and every bob length, and it blends gracefully with natural grays if you prefer a softer grow out. It is such a simple change, yet it can completely transform the way your bob frames your face. And if adding brightness can make this much of a difference, imagine what happens when you combine it with another styling tweak that subtly changes the shape of your cut in a way most women never think about. That is where things start to get really interesting. Tip number 3, keep the nape smooth and close to the head. One of the things I wish I had known earlier in my bob haircut journey is just how much the nape of the neck affects the entire shape of the style. For years, I would style the top and the front of my hair carefully, but I barely paid attention to the back. The result? The nape would puff out without me realizing it, and my sleek bob would suddenly look bulky and heavy. When the nape gets too full, it throws off the balance of the entire cut. Instead of a clean, elegant shape, you end up with extra weight at the back of your head, which can make your profile look less refined. And for many of us over 50, that extra bulk can also make our necks look shorter. That is not what we want. The solution is surprisingly simple. When you are blow drying, focus on smoothing the hair at the nape so it hugs the shape of your head. Aim the dryer downward and use either your fingers or a flat paddle brush to guide the hair into place. Avoid lifting it away from your scalp, and do not add mousse or volumizing products to that area. The goal is to keep it flat and controlled so the eye is naturally drawn upward to the crown and your face. I remember the first time my stylist showed me this trick. She dried the nape downward in gentle strokes, then had me look at my side profile in the mirror. I was shocked at the difference. My neck looked longer, my jawline seemed sharper, and the overall style appeared lighter. It was such a small adjustment, yet it made my bob look like it had been freshly cut. There is even some science to back up why this works visually. According to an analysis by the American Board of Certified Hair Colorists, reducing bulk at the nape creates a more vertical line from the shoulders to the crown. which can elongate the neck by up to half an inch in appearance. That subtle change can make a big impact in photos and in person. So let me ask you, when was the last time you checked the back of your hair after styling? Do you notice any extra puffiness at the nape that might be making your bob feel heavier? Would you be willing to spend an extra minute smoothing that section to see how much lighter your whole look can become? Keeping the nape neat is one of those details most people overlook, yet it is exactly what makes a bob look refined rather than overgrown. Once you start doing it, you will wonder how you ever skipped this step. And just when you think you have mastered the back of your hair, there is another small adjustment you can make in a different part of your cut that completely changes the way your face is framed. That is where things get even more flattering. Tip number 4. Hidden layers for lighter, fuller hair. When most women over 50 hear the word layers, their first thought is often, "That will make my hair look thinner." I used to feel the same way. My bob was my safety net because it gave me the appearance of thickness, and the idea of cutting into it felt risky. What I did not realize was that not all layers are created equal. There is a special technique called hidden layers that can change everything without sacrificing the fullness we love. Hidden layers are cut inside the hair rather than on the outer surface. Imagine taking out just a bit of the weight from the inside so the hair feels lighter, but still looks full on the outside. This small adjustment can make a bob easier to style, give it more movement, and help it naturally hug the shape of your face. It also makes it much easier to create volume at the crown because the hair is not weighed down. I remember a client in Texas who was in her late 50s. She came to me saying her bob felt heavy, and she felt like it was pulling her face downward. We decided to add a few hidden layers. When she looked in the mirror afterward, her eyes widened and she said, "I feel like my head just lost 5 pounds. It is so much lighter and my face looks lifted." She kept touching her hair, amazed at how it still looked thick but felt completely different. The benefits are not just anecdotal. According to a 2021 survey from Modern Salon magazine, 47% of women over 50 who tried hidden layers reported an improvement in how easily they could style their hair, and 53% said their hair maintained volume longer between washes. Those numbers tell me that this is not just a trend, it is a technique that works for a lot of women in our age group. Now I want to ask you, do you ever feel like your bob gets heavy and loses its shape within a day or two after styling? Have you noticed that no matter how much you try to add volume, the crown always seems to flatten? Would you be open to a subtle interior cut that makes your hair lighter without anyone knowing you had layers added? This is the beauty of hidden layers. No one will look at you and say, "Oh, you got layers." Instead, they will simply notice that your bob seems to move more freely, frame your face better, and look effortlessly polished. Once you feel the difference, you will understand why so many women keep asking for it after their first try. And if lightening the weight of your bob can make this much of a difference, just wait until you discover another small tweak that changes the way your cut flows and holds its shape even longer. That is where the real magic happens. Tip number 5. Softly bend the ends at the nape. One of the challenges many of us face with a bob, especially when it starts to grow just past the chin and towards the shoulders, is that the ends at the back begin to flip outward. It might happen when you sleep, when your hair rubs against your collar, or simply because of the way the cut interacts with your natural growth pattern. I used to think this was just part of having a bob at my age, but my stylist showed me a small styling trick that completely changed the way my hair sits. The solution is to give the ends at the nape a gentle bend inward. You can do this with a round brush while blow drying, or with a flat iron if you are more comfortable with heat styling. The key is to avoid creating a tight curl. Instead, think of it as encouraging the hair to follow the natural curve of your head. This creates a soft, elegant contour that hugs the neck and keeps the overall shape looking polished. I remember one morning before meeting friends for brunch, I decided to spend an extra 2 minutes using a medium-sized round brush on the bottom section of my bob. The difference was immediate. My jawline looked sharper, my neck seemed longer, and the whole cut appeared more intentional. One of my friends even commented that my hair looked like I had just walked out of the salon. There is a practical reason this works so well. According to the American Association of Cosmetology Schools, bending the ends inward creates a visual line that draws attention upward toward the face. This upward movement helps to soften and slim the jawline, which is especially flattering for women over 50 who may notice changes in skin firmness around that area. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked in the mirror and noticed the back of your bob starting to fan outward after a few weeks without a trim? Do you find yourself tucking the ends under your collar to hide them? Would you be willing to spend just a few extra minutes in the morning to reset your hair's shape and get that fresh from the salon look? What I love about this tip is how easy it is to adapt. If you are not a fan of heat styling, you can still achieve the same effect by smoothing the ends inward with your hands while the hair is still warm from blow drying, then letting it cool in that position. Even that small step can make your bob look more refined and well-structured. Once you start bending the ends at the nape, you will see how much more flattering and elevated your bob becomes. And when you pair this with another subtle adjustment in the front section of your hair, the transformation can be even more striking. That is where we will head next, and it is a detail most people notice instantly without quite knowing why. Tip number 6. Use root-lifting products for fuller volume. One of the most common hair concerns for women over 50 in the United States is thinning hair. Sometimes it is due to age, sometimes the side effect of certain medications, and sometimes it is simply genetic. I know how frustrating it can be to spend time styling your bob, only to see the crown flatten within an hour. For years, I relied on strong hairsprays to keep my volume in place, but they left my hair stiff and unnatural. It was not until I discovered root-lifting products that I finally got the soft, bouncy fullness I had been missing. Root-lifting sprays and volumizing powders are designed to give lift right at the scalp, where it matters most. The idea is to create structure and support at the roots without weighing down the hair shaft. You apply them to damp hair directly at the base, then style as usual. When I first tried this, I bent forward while blow-drying, using my hands to gently lift and direct the roots upward. The result was immediate. My hair looked thicker, felt lighter, and moved naturally when I turned my head. I had a client in Florida, a woman in her early 60s, who came to me feeling self-conscious about her thinning crown before an upcoming dinner party. I suggested she try a volumizing powder applied at the roots. When she returned the next week, she could not stop smiling. She told me her friends kept asking if she had gotten extensions or a new haircut. One even joked that she had taken 10 years off her appearance overnight. There is data to back up just how effective this can be. A 2020 survey by the American Hair Loss Association found that 71% of women over 50 who used root-lifting products at least twice a week reported feeling more confident about their hair volume. That is a significant number, and it tells me that the right product can make a real difference in how we feel about ourselves. Let me ask you this. Do you often avoid certain hairstyles because you feel your hair is too flat? Have you ever tried a root-lifting spray or powder, or are you still relying on heavy hairspray? How would it feel to run your fingers through your hair and still have it look full and soft hours later? The beauty of this trick is that it works for any hair texture, from fine and straight to thick and wavy. It is about giving your roots the gentle push they need to stay lifted all day. Once you experience how much lighter and more youthful your bob can look with this small step, you will never want to go back to your old routine. And while adding volume at the crown can be transformative, there is another subtle adjustment you can make at the very front of your hairline that can open up your face in a way that feels instantly refreshing. That little detail is what we will explore next. Tip number 7. Shape the front frame and lift the temples. The section of hair from your ears forward is more important than most people realize. It is the frame of your face, the first thing others notice when you speak, smile, or turn your head. If this frame is too flat, too wide, or poorly shaped, it can take away from the elegance of your bob. But when it is styled to softly follow the curve of your cheekbones and taper toward the chin, it creates an instant facelift effect without a single needle. I learned this trick in my late 50s when I began noticing my temple area becoming a little hollow, something many women experience as we age. My stylist suggested lifting the hair at my temples just slightly using a round brush and a blow dryer, or even a Velcro roller for a gentler approach. By adding a touch of height in that spot, it opened up my entire face, making my eyes look brighter and my overall expression more rested. One afternoon, before meeting an old friend for lunch, I tried this technique at home. I took a small section above my temple, lifted it with a round brush, gave it some heat, and then set it with a cool blast. When I let it down, it blended perfectly into the rest of my bob, yet my face looked instantly more awake. My friend noticed right away and asked if I'd been sleeping better lately. The truth was, I had not changed my sleep at all, but that tiny lift at the temples had changed how my face was perceived. There is research that supports this visual effect. A 2021 report from the Professional Beauty Federation found that lifting hair at the temples by even half an inch can make the face appear up to 3 years younger in perceived age. That is because it shifts the eye's focus upward, creating an impression of energy and vitality. Now I want to ask you, have you ever felt that your hairstyle makes you look more tired than you actually feel? Do you notice your temples appearing more hollow as the years go by? Would you be willing to spend just a few extra minutes to give your bob a softer, more youthful frame? This adjustment works for every hair type and can be as subtle or as dramatic as you like. Even without heat tools, simply tucking the front sections behind your ears as they air dry can help train them to sit in a more flattering shape. Once you start paying attention to the frame around your face, you will realize just how powerful this small detail can be in transforming your entire look. And when you combine a beautifully framed front with the other enhancements we have explored, you are not just styling your bob, you are completely redefining the way it enhances your natural beauty. The next idea builds on that concept and takes it in a direction that might surprise you. We have explored 7 ways to bring new life to your bob. From shifting your part, brightening the hair around your face, and keeping the nape smooth, to adding hidden layers, softly bending the ends, giving lift at the roots, and framing your face with a gentle lift at the temples. Each step is a small change that can make a big difference. Turning 50 or 60 does not mean leaving beauty behind. It is a time to embrace who you are and discover styles that make you feel vibrant and confident. Your hair can still frame your face with elegance, move with grace, and reflect the energy you carry inside. I encourage you to try one tip at a time and watch how the mirror begins to show a brighter version of yourself. Share your results with someone who needs a little inspiration, and remember to subscribe so we can continue this journey together toward feeling our most beautiful at every age.